Hello everyone, welcome back to Shanti Bloom. I'm very excited about today's video because we're going to be looking at some challenges I believe you will really relate to, and the good thing is that we will look at the solutions on how to overcome. We're going to look at the 5 common problems in marriage and how to overcome. But I'm even more excited because I'm doing the session today with my handsome husband, Edwin.
Oh, my beautiful wife.
I am glad to have you here today, even though late. You were supposed to have.
I've always wanted to honor your invitation.
Well, that's true. That's true. I think the first was going to be
On
Father's Day. Yes,
Father's Day,
Day. It was my plan to really bombard him with some serious Father's
You're gonna do it
Day.
today anyway, so
Let's
there's
see.
no difference.
Questions, but unfortunately, we weren't able to have that up on time. And then again, with the present series I'm doing, again, I wanted you to be my first guest.
Yes.
And unfortunately, there was a loss in the family, and so we pushed that aside. But I'm excited you are the second guest on this series.
I don't mind being the second because your guest Carol did a great job.
Yeah,
she did a great job in tackling I think immigrants.
Yes, the
challenges that immigrants face. I think if you haven't watched that video, go check it out. It's great, and especially if you've relocated and you're having difficulties, check that video out. Carol, you did an amazing job. Really.
Thank you, Carol. Now, before we get into identifying these problems and their solutions, it's very important that we should know the why. Let me tell you, addressing challenges in marriage can be very complex and just tiring. So if you do not have a strong why, it is that why that will give you the drive to be intentional, to go all the way, solving this problem. So why did we see the need to identify the challenges in our relationship and to be intentional about the solutions or tackling these challenges? So that's why.
Yeah, I think you're right in saying we need to know the why, so we cannot ignore it. And we all know, each of us has a purpose in life. I do, you do, and everyone has a purpose. But we as individuals also have other roles we play. For example, I'm a dad, you're a mom, I'm a father. So these roles are interconnected. So in order to be successful in your purpose, your God-given purpose, you need to also be successful in these roles that God has given you. So we cannot function in parts. We need to function as a whole.
Yeah, as a whole, yeah. Yes. Because you see, I always talk a lot about balance, because it's so funny that many times we think that we're pursuing our purpose, our vision is over there, and then my role of these other things are over here. Remember, if you are failing as a father, it's most likely that you may start failing even in your career. Yes. If you're failing as a husband or as a wife, that all those emotional, physical challenges will gradually begin to seep into the different other aspects of your life. And that is why we are here today saying it is very important not to ignore the problems that are happening in your relationship. Yes. Don't put them under the table because you think that the other roles in your life are going well, because the problems in one role are going to gradually seep into another one. Yes. And at the end of the day, it affects everything, and you find yourself not being able to pursue your purpose in life.
And I think just to come back to why we're here is because we feel that even though we've been married just for 14 years,
13 plus.
Close to 14 years, because that's August 2007, right?
Yes, you always consider August 2007. I always count from April.
Yeah, that's when we signed.
2008. Yeah. I think because we signed our marriage in 2007, and then it's a couple of months later into 2008 that we did the church wedding, and
So yes, I mean, look, I'm great. I'm big on that. I consider the cut. I believe in experience, because 14 years give us a little more experience.
Okay, you want to go with a bigger number. Okay, what he's saying is that we qualify to talk about this topic here today.
Oh, no. I wouldn't say that. But the truth is, listen, we've been married for that long. Let's keep it that way. And I wouldn't say that we know everything, but we've been through our fair share of challenges. We've had our ups and downs. We've grown over the years, actually, because I think I'm very thankful to God, because I think He led us through, and over the years we've also identified our purpose. We've grown to see how different we are, but how together we need to be. And this has been very helpful.
The first problem is lack of purpose and immaturity. Just imagine two people coming together who have already found clarity, their purpose in life, or they know their identity, they know where they are and where they want to go to. When they come together, that is really a powerhouse, right? Because you are more like sharpening one another. When one falls, the other is going to lift up. But as you know, it's hardly ever the case with most, relationships. At the beginning of most relationships, that clarity is not there.
It's not, and it makes sense, right? Because many times when we married, we are young, we are still trying to identify who we are, and then we probably are married to somebody who is maybe also trying to identify who they are. So it becomes a challenge to try to figure out through this through complex relationship, as we know they're complex, and which this actually leads to codependency, which sometimes is very unhealthy, where you try to find your identity through the other person's
the person's own interests, their own things. You're depending on them to know who you are.
Exactly.
And it becomes a burden both for you and that person, because again, we just identifying who you are is challenging, but to suddenly feel that some other human being should have that responsibility of telling you who you are or making you feel fulfilled in who you are, it becomes a challenge for
for you. And in fact, the other extreme is independent relationship, where two people live in the same house but they're so independent in all of their undertakings. This too is not healthy, because you come together as one, like the Bible says the two would become one.
And I think what always leads to this one is the immaturity part of it. Remember, I say lack of purpose and immaturity, because when you're immature, it's more about self. That's one of the signs of immaturity. And I always say that one of the signs of maturity is that you start seeking for ways to give more than being rather than just being a consumer. But when we are immature, it's more like me, myself, and I, my this, my that. So even though you have gotten married and you've moved together, and you're still kind of disjointed, and that's why you see issues of my job, your job, my family, your family, my friends, your friends, there is that separation, or you're just living in a home with separate lives. So it's quite difficult to find that balance when you are still when you just get married and you're young. And I think that is why a lot of relationships struggle during the first few years. You're really trying to find that balance of being us, but at the same time not losing who I am.
And this is why it is important to find that balance, like you rightly said, and to find the relationship where you're dependent, where your relationship is the priority, because you set it up as priority. Obviously, God is the first, as we know, and then your relationship is the priority, and then you can now pursue your passions, and then you work together. Like the Bible says, iron sharpeneth iron. Having been married with you for 14 years, I would say has sharpened me, made me a better person, and I think we've come to understand each other and to respect each other, which is very important. I think,
and calling and things like that.
And we've learned to give each other the space we need. And again, I want to come back to the fact that we aren't saying we've arrived. In fact, we're still learning. We're still growing. But I'm happy because I can truly say that who I was back 14 years, I'm not that person anymore. I think I've changed over the years, and I've learned to appreciate my lovely wife even more. I
appreciate
really,
you too, and myself too. I think we grow every day, and something that has helped that we are going to encourage even in tackling this particular challenge is that take time, and like I shared in my recent video when I was celebrating my 1 year on YouTube, I said the very first lesson was that desire to live life by design. This hunger, this desire will push you to take action. In your relationship right now, if there's codependency going on, take a cool head, calm down, and try to find out, why am I here? Let your spouse find out, why is he or she here? Why did we come together, and where are we going to? There are things, assignments you have as individuals, and the assignments you have even as a couple. Like with time, we're going to be sharing with you some more things and visions and desires of some things we are working on as a couple. We're going to share that with you, in the future. But when you ask yourself those questions and seek clarity. Again, I have a lot of videos that will help and guide you through the steps on how to find clarity in life. You would realize that this lack of clarity and immaturity related problems are going to leave your relationship.
Yes. But even though it is important to have your individuality and yet work as a unit, it is also important to note that you shouldn't burden each other. And this is very, very important in relationships, because as you know, we as humans have weaknesses and strengths.
Yes.
And for example, you could be good in finances, I'm not. So the advantage that I have in marrying you is that you can teach me the finances and you can still do it, but I shouldn't allow you to do everything, because it becomes very burdensome.
I think the complimenting I still remember one time, I think there was a time we went to a church. Mom and dad were ministering, and she told a story. My mom told a story of a lady who came to her saying, I'm married to this wonderful man. He does everything for me. In fact, I know nothing about the house. He just does everything. And my mom looked at her and said, girl, you're in trouble.
Yes, you are.
You are in trouble, because you cannot just sit and say somebody's doing everything. Then your weaknesses will always remain your weaknesses.
Exactly.
So in as much as your strengths, there's so many, over the years, I've seen a lot of areas where your strength has complemented my weaknesses, or my strength has complemented your weaknesses. But the advantage that we had was that I'm beginning to learn. I'm gleaning from your strength, and what was my weakness is becoming, it may never really be my strength, because it is easier for you to strengthen your strength than to turn your weakness into a strength, right?
I think what you're saying is very, very true. And even in our relationship over the years, you're a great cook. I know that. In fact, my late dad was a chef in the hotel, but I turned out not to be as good as him. I mean, but over the years, as we've gotten married, I realized that I can actually be of help to you. Every time you're cooking, I always come by to clean the dishes, and then I learn over time. I've gotten to know some little tips on cooking, even though I haven't best you. I'm not as great as you. I know that.
He makes the best tea.
Oh yeah. Listen, the kids love my noodles, my tea. Oh, they love.
And your what is this? Your oatmeal.
Oh yeah.
Joel will always tell me, Mommy, I want this oatmeal to taste like Daddy's oatmeal. I'm like, tea, 2-ingredient recipe, and you guys. And by the way, these are just fruit flavored teas, before somebody begins to think that we are giving our kids caffeine. No, these are just fruit, and they have it once in a while, and everything. So,
and
at least you are able to do that.
Yes, and the truth is, I've grown over the years, because I always came to the kitchen. I tried to help you out here and there, and then that's how you discover things. You learn.
I think now, I must say, I can comfortably, now many times run out of the house in the morning if I'm late, or if it was a day that I'm busy and you are less busy. I really go out without much of a worry. Unlike before, that you would have to go help me with grocery, and then he's on the phone. Where is this? On what aisle? And then I'm like, you went out to help me so that I can make use of this time. But then the whole time I'm on the phone with you.
Yeah, I know.
Telling you what aisle this is, and then he, but now again, he's grown up. So those are the examples we are talking about. Yeah. Do not burden the other person because you feel, you're strong with this, so keep on doing that. And even for me, I still remember when I just got to this country, right? And I wasn't driving yet. Don't judge me my age and driving. I wasn't driving yet, and this man had to come back from work. If you've been in New York, you know what it takes to commute from the city up. And our church was in Westchester. And he had to come and drive me to church for rehearsals. This is not service where you think, okay, he too is sitting there in service and he's being blessed. He just has to hang out at the back of the church while, I carry out my rehearsals. And, he did this for quite a while. Thank you. But, these are the things that can strain a relationship, because if I just sit there and I never try to learn new things and new skills that I can complement, over time you might have gotten tired. Even though friends and family who know you always go that extra mile to just keep doing things. But at a point I said, no, I have to. And I again, that laziness was there because you can get away with not driving in New York because there are buses, there are trains. It's very easy to get around.
And you remember when I traveled too, and
yes, that was That was another thing he will tell you. I was crying on the phone, So there's this year that, unfortunately, it was a sad time. He lost his dad here with us in the US, and he had to travel, to go lay him to rest back home. And so I'm home alone with the kids. Already it's a very sad moment for me. I'm alone, he's not around. And then there is this night that has snowed a lot, and the next morning I wake up, I took my time, got the kids ready, and I'm like, okay, kids, let's go. And then as soon as I opened the door, there was snow all over. Our snow up there in New York. It was, I just took the phone and I started crying. Because so those are little things that you take for granted. I had never, and I think for that moment for me was not just a teachable moment for me to learn things, but to be appreciative as well. I had never bothered about cleaning the snow from the driveway or whatever thing. I knew that it would be done. He would even tell me if I got back from work and I could not get into the driveway because there was so many, just park on the street, and he would come back late and do all of that. But then I remember that day, I think the kids didn't go to school. I just called it off. I was just emotionally all over the place, with all that was happening. And there are many other situations I can cite, but over the years, we learned that it was important that I should know how certain things do, his area of strength, and he too has learned to, learn a few things in my area of strength. Just should I, if I'm not there, he can be able to do some things, and if he's not there, I should be able to do some things. So
and this is very important.
I think this is important. So we may have taken some time on this point because it's important. There's the lack of clarity, that immaturity, that in a relationship when it's me, myself, and I, it destroys a relationship. When there's that codependency where I'm depending on you to be happy and everything, it can bring problems. Or in a situation where you're not growing, you're just letting me because I'm strong in another area. You're just sitting back and depending on me to do everything. It has strained a lot of relationships. It can be even in the area of work. Somebody doesn't even take that effort to see how can I also help with finances in the house, or how can I also contribute in one way or the other. It can be burdensome,
and it can lead to resentment. I think this is very
that's the right
important.
word, resentment.
Because we're humans, and that is first and foremost. And if somebody feels like they're doing more than the other partner, you can start feeling very resentful, or you start feeling. So it's very important to take note of those little moments, those little things, and then to always say thank you. I mean, it's important to be appreciative. These are things that I think we've learned over the years to appreciate each other and not only say thank you, but also help out. Okay.
The next is communication problems, and usually during the first years of marriage, the problem of communication is more of lack of proper communication or unhealthy. There is communication going on. You've just gotten married. There's still a lot of talking and communicating, but most often it is not healthy or proper communication, because one person could be internalizing and not really voicing out what they think and feel. Another person could be voicing it out and in a manner that it is demeaning to the other person. And even the issue of assumption, you just assume that this is what's going on, and then you act based on your assumption. So these are very unhealthy ways of communicating that can, really cause a lot of
problems in the relationship. And you're right. And some of these issues could arise because of different upbringings. There are people who are brought up in different families where the form of communication might be different from the others. There are other people, like you rightly said, who internalize things. There are some who speak out. So when these two come, there's this back and forth to try to find a balance. So it's true. Or another reason could be that the two partners are in different seasons.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
Yes, in different seasons. One person might just have a job or promotion, and the other person, and they it's bound to be a readjustment.
You see, I've spoken on here a lot about challenges of a new beginning, right? Because beginnings, be it happy or sad ones, it's change will always need some readjustment. So while you are that person is having a promotion and suddenly is very busy and is doing everything, it's a new beginning, it's a happy one, but it comes with challenges, which means which is maybe that individual trying to find balance between that new schedule and the other home responsibilities and still having you in the picture. And the other person, if they do not understand that this other person is now in a new season, can suddenly begin to feel left out, feel like, okay, suddenly you've had your promotion, you've forgotten about me and the kids. And so, you know, different seasons in life will always lead to that. You know, there have been times when, you know, you're transitioning jobs or you're doing certain things, new things are happening in my life. There was always bound to be some level of readjustment. But I think that what helped us through that process of adjusting is that we kind of communicated and was aware that this person is going, because I think when you are aware that this is a new season and it will come with challenges for that individual and for you as well, somewhere you'll be a little bit more tolerant, you'll be a little bit more empathetic, and you know, and not to say that you will not look for ways to adjust and get things balanced, but you will do it from a place of love and understanding.
And it's not to say that it's usually a smooth transition. In fact, there are certain there are transitions that sometimes it's a little uncomfortable, and sometimes, you know, you it leads to a little rough patches. But and so it's important that even the partner who is in a different season should note that and should try to reassure the other partner by always talking, listening, that no, you know what, I'm in this with you, I'm seeing what you're doing. Like we said before, they should see what the other partner is doing, thank them, appreciate, and always, so it's important.
The point we're trying to make here is that when there is unhealthy communication going on, first, in order to have that empathy, understand that that poor manner of communication can come from immaturity, which we had mentioned before, and like Edwin mentioned, poor the way that your upbringing, the way you were brought up, you know, your background, and again, like we have just cited here, the changing seasons in each other's life. If you have that at the back of your mind, it will help you to be more understanding and tolerant through the process. Does that mean you're going to just sit there with that imbalance going on and affecting one another? No. But when there is already that empathy and understanding of what is going on in each other's life, it is a healthy platform for you to now listen to one another and start going. But, you know, so that, like we're saying, the first thing to really solve this poor communication is to listen. You have to learn to listen to what that other person is, even if they are saying it in a wrong way. The bottom line is that they are trying to communicate something. It is important that we should first of all give that listening ear. What is this person trying to say, even though they are saying it in a wrong way? And then from the listening, we can go from there. And I know you may be watching me right now and saying, Chantal, Edwin, you don't know. We have come to the point where my spouse doesn't want to listen, or I just don't feel like I want to even sit down and listen. I think that brings that's a new level of that communication. It has left from lack of proper communication now to lack of communication, which is what happens
at the later
stage
in marriage. And this is very true, because as you know, and later on in marriage, if there's no connection, then there's lack of communication. So the connection is very important, because what leads to lack of communication, what leads to the lack of connection. Many times we realize that over time we lack, or we don't show affection like before. You think about the time when you started off, you used to always say, oh, I love you. You would call the other person so many times during the day, but after marriage, many people sit in their corners, or they that start dwindling, because obviously, like they say, familiarity breeds contempt, because you're in the house with the person and you feel like, okay, I see this person and what has changed. But so it's important to bring back those times when you had those affections, when you always told the person I love you, and that goes a long way.
Many times people just live like strangers, and then once in a while you arrange a vacation, once in a while you go for a candlelight dinner. That is important, but you agree with me that cannot happen every day. It's once in a while you have that time and finances to go for that vacation, or have that time to go for that candlelight dinner. But if you make it it's easier to make it a lifestyle, to show appreciation and affection in very little things
and
you know,
this is
every
true.
day.
Remember when we decided that, you know what, we were going to make it a habit, and this was intentional because we realized how busy our schedules
Over
were.
time, you
and
know,
you remember
kids coming, family,
and then
career.
we were so busy, you know, I come back from work, I'm tired, but we decided that, you know what, every evening we needed to spend time together, just you and I, maybe an hour and a half. We would watch movies. It was important to show that, and also we involved the kids at some point, because we needed to build that connection back. We needed to bring back that, because sometimes I think we miss the point when we say communicate with each other, and usually we refer to communication as talking to somebody, but the connection is quite important. And so sometimes you just need to sit in each other's presence, watch movie, or just be with each other, and then it brings back the spark that you had, and then you start realizing that, you know what, I'm actually enjoying that relationship I had before. I'm actually seeing this person. This is why most people, they sometimes feel, oh yeah, I don't still love that person, but the real problem is you've lost that
the connection, you know, because
you need to bring it back.
If you look at the beginning of your relationship, it wasn't a chore to communicate. You didn't think, oh my God, now I have to call him, oh my goodness, now I have to call her, or now we have to go out. You looked forward to it because there was some level of connection. So the solution we are saying that is here is that look and find out, where did we get disconnected, or what has caused us to disconnect. It is because you're disconnected that communication is becoming a chore. It's becoming just one of those things you are struggling to do, you know. But if you reconnect, again, like was said, reconnecting through little acts of showing affection, spending time with one, you know. I also remember when the COVID just started, right? Because normally it was just our normal routine, as I assume is for many people. You know, when he got to work, he would call, hey, I'm at work now. If it was me, you know, we kind of just reported what we were doing, our day on the phone, you know. But then when COVID came and we were all, you know, in one room, I still remember some mornings he would wake up and come over to my side of the, because he's an early riser. I am still asking God for that grace. He is like super early riser because he has to get up, do his exercise and write, and then you know, do his prayers and all that. So he gets up very early and he will come over to my side of the bed and be like, okay, baby, I'm heading to work. And I'm like, heading to work? You started going to work in person, you know, and that's just 2 rooms away, you know. But again, when even in that sleep, it just felt so sweet, you know. And even there are a couple of times that I would be down here doing some things with the kids, and from upstairs I would see my phone ring, and I'm like, why is he calling? And he'll be like, how you guys, almost like he was still at work like before, like, how you guys doing down there, and all of that. I will be having this conversation on the phone. So at times, like I'm saying, it's just little gestures here and there that you can do to rebuild that connection. When that connection is there, you will be able to communicate, and you will communicate effectively. Again, because I think when there is no connection, there is no transparency.
There isn't. That's very true. And there's no transparency, and there's also no vulnerability. No vulnerability. And this is very important, and that's why the Bible emphasizes the two will become one. You need to be vulnerable before your partner. We've seen cases where when people are going through hard times, they disconnect from their spouses and they want to handle it alone. It's important to note that you and your spouse were brought together so that, and that's why we say for better for worse, because it's together. And it's the only person who you can talk to, or you can bring your problems to and talk with, so that you can find solace. It's your spouse. So it's important that even during that time you feel vulnerable. This is why connection is important. And again, I don't want to overemphasize it, but this is very important.
Again, you are individuals, you're very different, your spouses are different. Figure out what connected you before and what has caused the disconnection. Because many times people say, as couples, we need to come and sit down and address this issue. But then you come and sit down and you have another new fight, right? Because there is no connection. You are not even trying to discuss that problem from a healthy place. You just want to speak your mind and get away. But when there is connection, communication comes back, and the communication is from a healthy place. There's transparency, there's honesty, there's vulnerability, and there is also the listening without judging. And that is how problems that would have taken much longer
yeah.
can really
and
some things just even resolve themselves, you know, just by reconnecting.
Yes, exactly.
And again, yes, there are
very
some
true.
other things that must be kind of addressed.
Very true. And also another piece of the puzzle is intimacy. I think this is something that sometimes we take for granted, but it's important, because once you connect, I think sometimes the intimacy is very important to the relationship, because it spices it up. It makes you guys even firmer. It brings you guys together. Once the connection is lost and the intimacy is lost, you start feeling as if you are not together again. This is a key. So it's important to understand that the connection is important, and then it brings back the intimacy.
Yes, connection, all that show of affection and everything restores intimacy or improves it, because again, like we said, there's vulnerability, there's transparency. You listen to one another, because at times with intimacy, people are very different in terms of frequency, style, expectation, and all of that. And I think intimacy is one of those areas in most relationships that you'll be surprised that people feel a certain way, think a certain way, but never really express it. You know, but then again, it comes from that disconnect. When you reconnect, don't just think you will. Again, many people believe that intimacy solves things, but I believe that there's a pre-thing before even the intimacy, trying to reconnect from within, and then intimacy just it comes in and
natural.
It's natural, and you are able to really express yourself more, even in that in the area of intimacy. And I think when that connection comes, both the emotional connection and the physical body connection comes, communication is restored, and where there is healthy communication, there is a healthy relationship. The next one is tragedy. When tragedy hits a marriage, be it tragedy like death of a child or a very close loved one, or sickness, it can really shake that marriage and bring a lot of challenges. And honestly, it has even been the reason for a lot of divorce, because they were unable to navigate that grieving process, and so they finally just fell apart, especially if that relationship already had a connection issue or communication issue. It can be very, very difficult to navigate through seasons of tragedy. And if I can remember, even in our case, I still remember when this is years back, when Edwin lost his brother. It was in a very tragic situation. It was a sudden death, and it was really a tough time, because I didn't understand what was going on with him. We may sometimes have head knowledge of the grieving process, but if you have not really shared space with somebody who is grieving, the experience is really, really different, because there were very highs and lows. There were times that you would just want some worship songs playing, you just wanted some prayer time and get us to pray. But then there were other days you sounded more like angry and full of so many questions, like, God, why? And things like that. And there were days you just didn't even feel like talking, and you would just be yourself and be to yourself. And I remember at times asking myself, why is he like this towards me? He wasn't like with a way, because of it was more of just that those emotional ups and downs that he was going through. And so that's just a simple example of how if I took it too serious, or he felt like it can really just bring that break that relationship. But I think that even on going through this particular experience and learning from it, another close loss that happened even with us right here was your dad. And I think that we kind of navigated that much better. And so tragedy, when it hits, it can really bring a lot of miscommunication and
like you
challenges.
Like you said, it's a complex thing when you lose, especially ones that you've been very close to. There's a lot of emotional ups and downs. And like you said, yes, I probably went through highs and lows, and then it's important that we understand that. And like I always said, if you've not been through it, you won't understand. In fact, I'm very fortunate that I had a wife who supported me through this. And like she said, when we had the second loss of my dad, we managed it much better. But another thing I want to highlight here is that especially with people of faith or Christians, that we need to change our mindset, because usually people feel that these things don't happen, but in fact we're living in the world. Jesus said himself, you find trouble and trials and tribulations. These are things that will happen, and we should expect it. Not that we are saying you shouldn't pray for healing. No, not that, but it should be expected. We see even in the Bible where David prayed for his son to get healed. He fasted, he did so many things, and yet the son died. He got up, dusted his clothes, and comforted his wife. So these are things that will happen.
For the partner who is not going through it, you have to really try not to be judgmental. People will mourn differently. People would go through grief differently, and I've seen people being hurt sometimes even in the church, because people expect you to have gotten over something too fast. Why are you still in it? And so even if somebody is going through their grief and pain in an unhealthy manner that is maybe hurting them and others, one of the spouse should be empathetic. You should be sensitive during that season to their behavior or their highs and lows or their emotions. And again, like I said, a lot of prayers and support. But above all, who should we seek help from? God. Because like Edwin said, Jesus himself said that in the world you will face trials and tribulations, but that be at peace because I have overcome. And so he promised us what? Peace that surpasses all human understanding. He left us with who? The Holy Spirit, right? Whom he said is the comforter, the greatest comforter. I believe that even there are no beautiful words, even after understanding you for years, I think there's just a level of comfort that only God can give you. And after you understanding me, there's a level of comfort and that only the Holy Spirit can give me. And so he should be the head of you should put him at the center, especially in seasons like that, because he'll give peace, he's going to give comfort, and above all, he's going to do what? Heal. Because, there are certain wounds that are just so deep that it takes God to heal. So if you're watching and listening to us right now, and even as a couple, you guys are going through a tragedy, and at times it's not limited to just death, sickness. It can even be
loss of job.
Sudden loss of job. Or business crumbling. And suddenly your lifestyle changes overnight. This has led to, and another person may be judging, you can't adapt because of this. People handle those sudden changes very differently. But if you rely on God, he will come in with peace, comfort, and above all, he is going to heal that pain, and you'll be able to move on with your relationship. Now we're going to address the last two challenges or problems in marriage and the solutions that are very, very vital in the part 2 of this video. So please let us know in the comment section which of these problems you identified with, and what are some of the solutions that you have applied in your own unique situation. Thank you again so much for joining us here today, and see you in the next. Bye-bye.